Good afternoon, beautiful people from planet Earth and all other interdimensional entities of love, light, truth, holiness, magic, beauty, wonder, awe, across all dimensions of time, space, and Kabbalistic Tzimtzum, not Tzimtzum, that's not the right word, in the Kabbalistic tradition, from Ein Sof all the way down through the tree of life, without exploding, of course, to Malchut, which is the equivalent in the Viking tradition of Midgard, where we live, where our feet are firmly planted on the ground, although some of us go flying occasionally, little flights of fancy and little interdimensional rendezvous with the gods and the spirits and the ancestors that love us. But today is a welcome, as always, to sacred space at Titania's realm, and today is the 16th of December 2025, and it's the second day of Hanukkah, although tonight, when the sun goes down, we begin the third day. So that's flying past very quickly. We're all grieving and in various stages of shock and distress over the shootings at Bondi Beach, so we're still recalibrating from that. The Hanukkah celebrations in Brisbane or the Gold Coast were cancelled, and we must not let fear drive us to give up on our traditions and our usual festivals and celebrations. But in these dark times, I guess it's wiser just to call it a day just for this year only. So as a defiance, because it's Hanukkah, I met up for lunch with a friend of mine who I know from my Jewish community. We were in the same temple together. Actually, she functioned as the treasurer at one time for a few years running, actually, and her name's Regina, and so we had a lovely time catching up. Hadn't seen each other for, she said it was only a year. I thought it was more than that, but anyway, we had a lovely time catching up, and we had lunch at Grilled, and it was really delicious lunch. And then I got home to a lovely phone call from my friends Robin and Peter, who are going to come and visit me on Friday. So I was, I'm being spoilt with lots of connections to friends and acquaintances and people I don't see very often. So I'm really thrilled about that, actually. And of course, on Monday I went out with my friend Jared to Bookfest, but you know all about that because I showed you the books, and yeah, so that was also a lovely day out. And after Bookfest we went to the South Brisbane Cemetery, which was a beautiful place. So yes, I've really had quite a lovely time with it. So can't have been Monday that we went, because today's Tuesday. Must have been Sunday that we went. Goodness, I'm getting myself all confused what day it is. But anyway, yes, it was Sunday. Sunday, because that was the night that horrific thing happened. Anyway, I thought I would continue on with reading How to Be a Viking, a Northlander's Guide. And I do believe, if I remember correctly, that we were up to chapter 8. So we'll carry on from chapter 8. Let me just check. Yes, I read that to you, chapter 7. Right. Chapter 8. Beware the world beyond the mead hall. Giants, trolls, and dragons. A Viking's home means safety, comfort, a warm fire and a good meal. However, the realm beyond our homes, beyond civilization, is a strange world called the Outland, the world of the unknown. It is home to monstrous, magical and mysterious peoples, who we call the hidden folk. Always dangerous, they are long-lived and have grown both in wisdom and cruelty over the ages. To keep the peace, dealings with them should be as fair as possible. Some of them will even require regular sacrifices. Giants. Oldest of all folk, giants dwell in the land of Jotunheim. There are many kinds of giant, each with its own nature. Although they are violent, giants are wise and love riddles that test the mind's mettle. If you meet one, a battle of riddles may be your only hope. Take care though, as Odin himself nearly lost his head in a riddle contest with the great giant Vafthrudnir. Dragons. Many old worms, spelt W-Y-R-M, wind themselves about the roots of the world tree, hiding in their beds of bright gold. It would be lovely actually to just have a bed of gold. Be a bit itchy and scratchy though. I prefer my feather doonas and a good quality mattress, just saying. These dragons are famed for being treasure-hungry gold hoarders. Hoarders? Greedy heroes hungry for wealth are likely to seek out these beasts and battle them. Perhaps we are more like dragons than we care to think. All that glitters is not gold, people. Living beside the hidden folk. Oh, wait, we'll read that after. It's another one where you have to open up and you get more of the story. Right, before we continue with that, here's a picture of must be Odin battling with a dragon. The dragon's blowing fire at him, as dragons do, and he's trying to smack it over the head with a giant club, as Viking warriors do, and this must be some kind of troll. Alright. A monstrous marriage. Long ago, the god Freyr, lord of the Vanir, fell in love with Gerda, daughter of the giants Geimir and Orboda. Freyr sent his servant Skirnir the Bright to woo Gerda for him. It took many threats to make her see Freyr's worth. Skirnir wooed first with gold and good words, as she do, but soon threatened to bring her around with terrible troll runes. Eventually, Freyr and Gerda were married on a place called Barry, the Barley Isle. Trolls. Every land has its hidden folk, but few return from meeting with them to speak of what they have seen. Trolls are some of the most ancient and dangerous of such creatures, and dealing with them requires great care. They are often described as hulking he-monsters, but trollish women also walk our lands. One such troll hag spoke these words of her own kind. I am called Troll, chewer of the moon, great girl of the gale, blasts, blight of the rain hall. Sorry, I've read that wrongly. Great girl of the gale blasts, blight of the rain hall, sister of the seeress, shadow hag, night mother, devourer of the bright wheel. What is that I've got on my neck? Some little bite of something. What is a troll but all that I have said? Let me see. Chewer of the moon, girl of gale blasts, blights of rain halls, sisters of the seeress, shadow hag, night mother, devourer of the bright. There's quite a few titles there. She's got quite a few occupations. Keep herself very busy for a very long time. Just chewing the moon alone would take some time. Especially if it really is made out of cheese, which I doubt, but you know. In their dimension, maybe it really is cheesy. Swiss cheesy. Magic. Our ancestors have passed down much wisdom about magic that can be used for protection against hidden folk. Iron will keep trolls in or out of a place, making a magical barrier. Some have said that the vomit of a troll hag can grant shape-shifting abilities, though this I have never tried. How would you find a troll hag, and how would you get her to vomit on you at will and gather up the vomit? Sounds very complicated to me. I don't think I'll try it either. Not very fond of vomit, although whale vomit, ambergris, are very valuable indeed. Very valuable. Iron bolts in the door frame will keep a troll from the threshold. Must remember that. Doesn't seem to work with the internet though, does it? So many trolls, so little time. And if they're not trolls, then they've upgraded themselves into bots. Lots of botty boys out there on the internet. And girls. Gender non-specific. Oh yes, after we had lunch at Garden City, Regina and I walked down to Woolworths, and there was a amusement sort of thing cordoned off for children. They all had VR goggles and they were all looking at these interesting virtual realities. That was interesting to see. Dwarves. The dwarves dwell below ground, dark-haired and pale-skinned. Like trolls, they cannot abide direct sunlight. It turns them into stone. They are master craftsmen who have wrought many treasures. Mjolnir. Thor's hammer, the Skidbladnir, Freyr's ship, Brisingamen, Freya's necklace, and more. Dwarves are great traders, and if you treat them with the respect owed to skilled artisans, then your dealings with them will be fair. Who doesn't love to be treated with respect? Tall, long, short, dwarvish, elvish, human, god, goddess, fairy. Love is the law, love under will. But respect and honour, courtesy, common basic decency, sweetness and kindness are the true machinations of the universe that can open doors for you people of Earth. Or shut doors down very tight when you treat people badly for no good reason, but you could. You never know who's watching and who's listening, and even if the fellow human just takes it on the chin, someone of a higher power is always keeping watch, taking it all in. Hospitality to the stranger. At least a cold glass of water on a hot day when they come to my door. They might not get so much hospitality in winter times, but you know, in the very heat when they come, would you like a glass of water? Oh yes, please. It was very hot yesterday, 34 degrees. It's not as bad today. Thank you, Holy One, blessed be your name. But yesterday was, I actually really worried about my birdie boys. But you're okay, aren't you, birdie boys? Yes, Mama T. We're okay. I have them outside because it's cooler today, but it's come up quite windy, so. What's tomorrow? What's happening tomorrow, boys? We've got no plans for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to go in the garden. Yes? Yes. Right, now, which reminds me I need to clean their cages too. I'll have to do that soon after I finish the story. I cleaned Kermie's outside cage yesterday, gave it a good scrub actually, but I didn't do the inside cages. I normally do them on a Monday, and then last week it got left till Tuesday, so today they were due. I guess one day late won't matter, but it just throws the routine out, slides away, doesn't it? The nearer you get to your destination, the more you just sliding away. And also I have to be disciplined because I get onto it. But anyway, they're alright. They're not, the cages aren't filthy. They're alright. One more day won't hurt. I'll probably end up doing it when I finish the story because I'll feel guilty, which is good. Get things done. Right, we continue on. Words of wisdom. A wise woman once taught me these words to honour the hidden folk. Mark them well. Bright folk, earth kin, I do not forget you. I'll keep a fire burning upon your high hill. Milk upon stone and good bread I shall leave you. Watch over my farm and grant my days good fortune. Bright folk, earth kin, let these words be our bond. This is how the Vikings pray, talking to the elementals. He looks rather kind of cute and adorable actually. I love his red beard and his red ears. his plaited beard and his moustache and red hair. I think he's meant to be a dwarf. But look at his sword. I love that. You know, I could decorate my hammers like that. You just carve into the stainless steel. It's a lot of work though. Do I really need to do it? No. But it does look so beautiful. Someone posted a video on YouTube. I don't know when I saw it now, months ago. They decorated all their jewellery tools, like their hammers, and made it look all Viking. It was just beautiful workmanship. But they were very good quality hammers to begin with. Like you wouldn't bother doing all that artisanry and just a cheap thing. But I was impressed. I was very impressed. I thought maybe I could do that too. Here's the little troll running away from the iron nails in the door frame. Alright, we'll carry on. Living beside the hidden folk. All hidden folk are dangerous, but some may be befriended. Remember to use kind words. Always honouring these ancient peoples as you would your own kin. Like I said, they're always watching over us. You might not see them. They might be in another dimension, but they watch over us and our earth too. Elves. Elves dwell above ground and are a shining people of forest and wilderness. They are an ancient race living among men, often even joining the gods at their feasts in Asgard. Still they are quick to rouse to anger, making sacrifices called Alfblot near their homes. Will help keep them peaceful neighbours. I've never met an elf, like a real elf, I mean. That would be a wondrous experience. But I wouldn't want to make one angry. I've never seen their homes. I know they have homes in Iceland. I've seen videos of them. They're amazing. People just say, don't go there. That belongs to the elves. They're always tucked down into the hills, a bit like how hobbits live in, you know, the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. But I guess if a real elf came and visited me, I'd probably freak out, because it's such an enormously unusual experience. Like when Sir James Douglas, Black Douglas, haunted me beside my bed. Well, not in a nasty, negative way, but appeared beside my bed most unexpectedly. It freaked me out a little bit. I wasn't frightened too badly, but just was so astonished. There we go. I'm going to have a good look at the Viking ship. There we go. Bird's eye view. And we're sailing. Where shall we go? Let's go to Greenland. And you know, I really love the ornate carvings that they did on their ships too. Just beautiful. My friend Regina showed me this beautiful wooden carved picture that a friend of hers, who is an artist, made of her beautiful dog Mileva. Oh, it was just gorgeous. Gee, there are some talented people in the world. Really make really beautiful things. Right, chapter 9. Sail like a Viking. Ships and sea lore. Just see if any of these pages open up. No, not on this one. That's the fabulousness on this page. Oh, it makes me want to jump on and go to sea, but the trouble is, no stabilisers in the old days. I'd get a bit seasick, I think, on a Viking ship. By all the gods. I can just see me though, standing there, hands outstretched. Let's go, let's go. Ah, blessed be Mamati who goes nowhere. It's just amazingly made, just beautiful. Right, no Northlander can resist the song of the sea, for the Wales Road calls to us from birth to death. This is true, people of Earth. While you may not spend your life at sea, you must at least once make a journey across the world's waters, which I did when I was 7 and I turned 8 on the ship going to Germany. Well, going to Rotterdam is where we disembarked, then on to Germany by train. And then we came back from there. We went from Germany to caught a train. Yeah, how did we get there actually? Must have been by train. To Southampton in England, and boarded the ship and came back to New Zealand. That was a wonderful voyage. It would have been more wonderful had the ship not been infested with PDF files who constantly fucking followed me everywhere and harassed me. I mean, what can I say? I was a beautiful child, but no child deserves to be treated like that. It was vile. Other than that, it would have been the most wonderful voyage. My favourite place we went to was South Africa. We stopped over in Durban and Cape Town, and we did the same stopovers coming back, which is a bit sort of a shame because it would have been nice to do the other side of the world and see the other stopovers. But so we stopped over all around Australia, Sydney, Adelaide, Fremantle. Then we went to Durban and then Cape Town, and from there we went to was it the Canary Islands first and then to Lisbon, or the other way around? I think it was the Canary Islands first because it's closest to Africa. So we stopped off at the Canary Islands, which was Las Palmas, which was beautiful. I remember being struck by the beauty of that place. And then we went to Lisbon, and from Lisbon we went to Rotterdam and disembarked there. Coming back, we did all the same stops but in reverse. So it was quite lovely. And when on the return voyage, we came back on a Greek ship called the Elenice. And guess who was on our ship? Ronald Biggs, the great train robber. So they held us up at Fremantle, wouldn't let us get off for our stopover, which everyone had paid, well, the adults, of course, not me, had paid a lot of money for those stopovers to tour from Fremantle and go on to Perth, you know. People were really wild. And all up and down the ship they were searching for Ronald Biggs. I think he walked right past me, but I didn't know what he looked like, who they were looking for. But anyway, he ruined our stopover in Fremantle because they wouldn't let us off the ship. And then many years later I was watching a documentary about it, and he actually admitted, he said, they went right past me. I didn't even have that good a disguise, just a bit of a fake moustache and a cap. He said, they really were idiots. He said, but I was glad they didn't catch me. I was like, you bastard, you ruined our stopover in Fremantle, but it is what it is. But anyway. But yes, I really loved going to Lisbon, and I as a, you know, bear in mind I'm a child, and I loved Durban and Cape Town very much. They were beautiful So beautiful. And at that point in time, I never imagined that I would end up living in Australia, of all places. So you see, some things come down to fate. My mother met my de facto stepfather on the ship on the Alanis, sailing back to New Zealand, and started a bit of an on-board romance with him, and then she had a very bad asthma attack, so bad she came close to dying. And she was thrashing about on our bunk. We were like sea deck, so 3 levels below sea level. There wasn't a lot of fresh air. It was all, reconstituted air-conditioned air, and it was hot, and she became so ill with her asthma, and she was dying. Her lips were turning purple. She was thrashing from side to side, gasping for air. And I ran out trying to get somebody to help us, and there was no one around. And then I saw the ship's steward, and I was like, can you get the doctor? And I'd actually had a little 8-year-old puppy love crush on him. I think he was about 23 actually. 8 years old, having a crush on this young, handsome steward. He wasn't a pedophile, that one, but he was just thick as 2 short planks. And anyway, so I'd had this sort of innocent little crush, but he was so useless. I'm like, can you go and get the doctor? My mother can't breathe. No speak English. And I'm like, come. I pulled him by the sleeve, showed him my mother. Look, she's dying. He did this. So then I got really angry. 8 years old. Oh, you think I've got a fiery temper, people? You should have seen me when I was 8. The mamata, even as a child, could move mountains and get shit done. I said, are you going to get the doctor? Doctor. And I'm like, this is my mother. She's dying, I tell you. I really thought she was dying, and I think she actually did come close to dying. So I ran at him and went to kick him as hard as I possibly could in the back of his legs. I missed him by that much, and to this day I'm still mad that I missed him, because it was a really hard kick, and I was looking forward to getting one in for the children everywhere. And not that he'd been predating, but I had reasons to hate men at that age already, you understand. And anyway, who serves on an international cruise liner and doesn't know the English word for doctor? You'd think that would be the first thing they would teach them, given that there's people from all over the world sailing on their fucking ship, costing a lot of money, by the way. Anyway, he took off, this man, ran like a rabbit, and I'm running around in one spot from one foot to the other, panicking because I don't know how to find a doctor. And for some reason there weren't any other passengers around. They must have all been, doing their thing on the upper decks. And I'm running back from my mother and back, starting to panic, and I was just about 10 minutes must have gone by. And it really was that dangerous. He comes back with another older man. I said, who are you? I'm the doctor. I said, suddenly he learned how to speak English, did he? After I kicked him. And the doctor just looked at me and went, show me your mother. Oh, I tell you, that's a true story, by the way. Every word is true. So he comes in with his doctor's bag and opens it up and looks at my mother. He says, we have to put her in the ship's hospital. Your mother is very ill. What? I said. Yes, you have to stay on your own in the cabin until your mother gets better. And you know what? I was like, whoop-de-doo, because all the meals are provided. All I had to do was, they ring certain bells in certain sequences, and the first class passengers go down to eat first, and the second, go second, and we go third, So I wait for the 3 bells, and sometimes the older, adults around would say, it's time, your dinner bell, Tanya. Okay, I would say, and I just sort of follow them to the dining room and eat. The rest of the time I was just in the swimming pool or buying lollies with all the other little English kids. We were buying little Pontefract lollies and little licorice all sorts or whatever. They mainly sold English sweets, which was fine. I'm not particular where my lollies come from as long as they taste nice, you know. So I had a great time, but then I had this Dutchman hanging around, Uncle Case. I had to call him Uncle Case already. I'm like, it's not my uncle, barely bloody know him. Anyway, how is your mother going? How is your mother going? She's fine, she's in the hospital. So he was running to the hospital and then taking an interest in me. You know, probably because she'd asked him to check on me. But, yeah, I have to scratch at the thought of it to this day. And anyway, she was in the hospital. I think the entire cruise was about a month sailing, and so she must have worked pretty quickly with the case master, because she only had about a bloody week to do so. Jesus, when you think about it, it's all very quick, isn't it? Anyway, they wrote each other the most beautiful love letters, and schmaltzy love letters. Next thing I know, we come home to New Zealand, and only about 6 months later we were moved over to Melbourne to live with him. Yes, they didn't let the grass grow under their tootsies, baby girls and baby boys. And I was lied to and told that we were only going to go to Melbourne, Australia for 6 months. I even got the little letter where I wrote to my half-sister's father in Germany saying, we're moving to Australia, but it's just for 6 months. Who lies to their own child? My family. Assholes. They really were assholes. They really were. I can say that without a word of a lie. But anyway, where were we? How did we digress onto that? Yes, at least once make a journey across the world's waters. And you know the loveliest thing about sailing on that massive, the Fair Star going up and coming back the Elenese, was in the tropical waters around the equator. I used to see the flying fish jumping out of the water and with kind of fins that almost looked like wings. That was amazing. So I guess it wasn't a complete horrorscape. There were lovely things. And coming back on the Elenese, it was just the very tip of New Zealand, Three Kings Islands. I was staring out at sea this particular day, feeling depressed and a bit sad because I knew I was going home to the same fucking predators, and on top of it I was a bit conscious that I had a new one on my hands. My mother brought into our lives. Dear goddess, it was endless. So I'm standing there looking out at sea, just staring at the horizon, which for me felt like I'm staring into eternity. And it goes in a semicircle all around, semicircle horizon. Every direction you turn, it's a circle. And it was just absolutely beautiful. And the sea was beautiful, and the sea speaks to me in kind of a magical, energetic way. So I was musing, 8 years old, musing, looking out at sea. And I hear this man's voice behind me, and he said, "A penny for your thoughts, little girl." Oh, here we go. Another idiot. I turned around and said, "Beg your pardon?" He said, "A penny for your thoughts." I said, "I don't know what that means," which I genuinely had never heard that expression before. And he would have been, probably seemed really ancient to me, but he would have probably been in his 60s, but to an 8-year-old he looked like really old. And I don't think he was all that old, but he seemed old. He was older than my parents, my mother and my new Uncle Case anyway. He just smiled at me very indulgently. He said, I never forgot this actually. It stays with me forever. Can almost see his features and everything, and yet I only had that one brief encounter, that one brief conversation. He said, it means that I want to know what you're thinking and if they're worth a penny. He said, what is it you're looking at, little girl, out to sea? What is it you're really thinking about? I'm curious, he said. I'd like to know. I found that quite charming, actually. He wasn't being a sexual predator. He was just being like a sweet, grandfather figure. So I looked at him and I squared my shoulders and my bolshy little defiant little self. And I said, you want to know what I'm thinking? Yes, he said. I said, I'm thinking that I'm almost home and that I'm going home. And I've wanted to go home for such a long time. I said, but nothing will be the same as when I left. It will never be the same again. It will be different. And I will be different. And life will be different. He kind of went a bit pale. Just looked at me like this. Those are very deep thoughts for a little girl, he said. How old are you? I said, 8. Nice to meet you, he said. We shook hands and bid each other goodbye. And that was that little encounter. But yes, very, very sweet. The other funny thing I did on that voyage going to Europe was when we arrived in Lisbon, I had some terrible tropical rash all over my body. Actually, it was brought on by stress because the ship's steward was predating on me. My mother would be up drinking and gambling on the pokies or whatever they had up there, and leave me on my own in the cabin, and this arsehole was letting himself into our cabin. And I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And so anyway, he didn't actually do anything because I just kept moving away and making loud noises, and he was scared that I'd call attention and he'd get caught in the cabin with me. Did get a few weird looks from a few of the people opposite us in the cabins opposite. It's really awful with children that people kind of suspect but they do nothing. So they don't protect you. It's vile. Absolutely vile. That's why I'm so overprotective of people around me, even to this day, even other adult men and women. I never want to be that person that just closes my eyes and does nothing with full cognition that someone's in real danger or someone's not actually, able to get themselves out of a situation because they're a child or unable to defend themselves. It's vile to do that to someone. Vile beyond belief. But anyway, he didn't actually do a lot, but it was terrifying all the same. And I came up with this dreadful hives all over my skin, all over my belly. It wasn't measles, but I was covered in this rash, And I'd had measles before when I was 4. I nearly died of whooping cough and measles. So anyway, my mother takes me to the ship's doctor and he says, I don't know what's caused it, but he said it looks like a tropical disease, but we haven't reached the tropics yet. What, she said? She said, yeah, we haven't crossed the equator yet. Anyway, we arrive in Lisbon and I'm covered from head to toe in these spots. And I feel weak and very fatigued. And I didn't have a bad fever, but I felt a bit flushed and a bit like my temperature was up a little bit. So I slept most of the tour bus ride all through the mountain behind Lisbon there, and I missed everything. I was head banging against the glass of the bus, feeling really exhausted and disinterested and all. My mother hit me in the face. She used to love to hit me in the face, which is why I have terrible struggles with my teeth to this day. She did me a lot of damage. And hit me in the face and said, "Sit up, pay attention, you're missing the expensive tour, I paid a fortune for this." What does it matter to an 8-year-old, especially when you don't feel well? Even other people kind of looked at her and thought, it's a bit harsh, you know. Nobody intervened though. Nobody ever intervened. But anyway, we arrive in Lisbon in front of this big kind of memorial, very famous statue. And the tour guide gets out and starts saying, "And the gods favoured the sailors, and they made offerings, and the gods favoured them, and many men were lost at sea, and so there was always prayers and sacrifices that were made and offerings that were made, and the gods this and the gods that." And I was a fairly religious little Christian Lutheran girl when I was 8. I know you wouldn't believe it, would you? I'm very opposed to that religion now, but, well, I've been opposed to it since I was really about that age, because I realised, you mean there's other gods? And I don't have to put up with all the predating pedophiles and this religious evil cesspit. Of course, I didn't realise that that kind of thing happens across all religions. You can imagine the great shock I found out when it happened, that it happens in my Jewish community too. It came as a great shock. Anyway, where am I going with this? Oh yes, so the adult tour group leaders talking about the gods, and me being a little religious girl. I knew about fairies and trolls and elves from my neighbour down the road, Mrs. June Robertson. And I knew there were gods like Thor and Odin, but I hadn't heard, I hadn't really comprehended how many gods there really were. Pardon me. 5,000 gods can't all be wrong, can they? They all belong to the one. The one creates us all, ultimately. So anyway, so I put my little, she said, "Are there any questions?" At 8 years old, I put my little hand up. Yes. She thought it was very cute. And I yell at the top of my voice, because I'm obnoxious like that, "But I thought there was only one God." And you know what? Everyone burst out laughing, but she didn't know what to answer me. And she was like, "Yes, but the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Trinity, and yes, there's 3, but there's really 1, and then there's the gods." And everyone just went, "Don't confuse the child." The child wasn't so confused. The child was right all along. There's one and there's many. Together we make the fabric of the multiverses. We are all created beings. Some of us are mortal, some of us, not myself, you understand, but some are immortal. Some are hidden folk. Some are right up in your faces folks. Some are Jewish, some are Christian, some are Muslim, some are Buddhist, some are whatever culture you happen to be born into usually. It's usually where you're born, where you come from. But I decided when I was 6 years old that I didn't like that religion because they didn't protect me and had no intention of protecting me, and I didn't think it was very kosher, you understand. And then when I saw how powerful I was kicking that ship's steward on the return voyage, who kept playing dumb, didn't know what a doctor was, and when I saw him run back with a doctor like that, I realised they think I'm just a silly little child defenseless, unprotected, but I'm the most powerful of them all, because I make things happen when I set my mind to it. It is what it is, people of Earth. I could make a lot more things happen if I chose to, but for that you usually need an abundance of money and people to support you and back you, and wow, c'est la vie, babies. Right. While you may not spend your life at sea, you must at least once make a journey across the world's waters. It really is the making of you to see that horizon, that eternity spread out before you in the form of quite earthly waters on our planet Earth, but there's the celestial waters too. Even the gods set sail sometimes. Freyr had a ship, Skidbladnir, made by the dwarf Dvalin, that could be folded up to fit in his pouch, a bit like this one. This one folds up too. It folds up too, Kumi. Do you want to go in the Viking ship? Let's go! We need an adventure. A nice adventure though. A pleasurable one. A non-harmful adventure. Mama T has spoken. Like Freyr, you must always be ready to set sail. I have a passport, I just need more money to actually pay for a trip and accommodation and food and souvenirs and whatever. The most common ships are the Knorr, used by merchants. They are broad and deep with room in their bellies for cargo. They carry small crews and use only a few pairs of oars. When it's war we are waging, we set sail in a drakar, or dragon ship. Is this a dragon ship? Yes, it is. We build them for speed, and they hold many oarsmen. See, it's got the head of a dragon. Oh, I don't know, it could be a porpoise too. Let's have a proper look at it. I think it's meant to be a dragon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shields. Maybe it's a merchant ship because it doesn't have a lot of shields. Well, we'll find out, won't we? Thor's fishing trip. Once the god Thor went fishing with Hymir the giant. It is said that for bait, Thor pulled the head off a black bull. The giant had soon caught 2 whales and thought himself lucky. That was nothing to Thor, who dropped his line into the deep. The great serpent of Midgard, whose coils encircle the world, bit the thunderer's bait. Thor pulled a world worm into the boat, where a blow from his hammer laid the thing low. The serpent sank back into the sea, and Thor and Hymir set sail for home. Reminds me of when my dickhead ex-husband used to bring giant conger eels into our boat, and I was petrified of them. And they would roll and thrash all along the boat with their razor sharp 3 sets of teeth, and he thought it was funny that I was frightened of them. So he kept doing it because he really was a dickhead. But look at that. There you go. Sending it back to the bottom of the sea. Oars. If a headwind blows against us, we use the oars, rowing in rhythm together to send the ship forwards on its way. Figureheads. When sailing into battle or troublesome waters, a ship must have a menacing figurehead, often a fearsome dragon or sharp-toothed serpent. These will scare off monsters that might attack at sea and strike fear into any foes we sail towards. When nearing shore, these figureheads are removed or covered so as not to frighten the spirits of the land. I didn't know that. There you go. They had to harmonise with the land spirits. Keel. The timbers of the ship are oak. The keel runs along the bottom of the ship, supporting all. Each plank of the hull overlaps the one beneath. They are held in place by rivets of bog iron or wood. Bog iron. I don't know what bog iron is. Iron that's been left to rust in a bog? Preserve it somehow? Interesting. Mast. Made of pine, the mast is placed in the very centre of the ship so we can sail. There it is, right there, right in the centre. I want to get on that ship and go somewhere nice. Where can we go, people of Earth? Anywhere, anywhere, anywhere. The sea meets the sea. Mast. Made of pine, the mast is placed in the very centre of the ship so we can sail, winds willing, both forwards and backwards as we wish. Rudder. Carved from mighty oak, the rudder. Can't see the rudder. Oh, the rudder's the back. Is it the back? That's the stern. Anyway, carved from mighty oak. The rudder helps steer the ship. Strong arms are needed to keep the course against a roaring sea. I think this must be the rudder, this bit here. This stick-looking thing. That's what they're using to steer the ship. Seafarers' law. We call our ships by many names. Snakes of the sea, surf dragons, and fjord elks. The sea they sail upon we call the whale's road, eel home, fisher's bath, and Njord's hall. Many things may befall you upon the whale's road, so take care. Make offerings to the Sea Lord Njord before leaving land. Carve runes of protection upon your oars and your mast. Ask Thor for fair weather. Be wary of monsters, for many dwell in the murk of deep sea halls. It's got a pain in my head again, second time in 2 days. I wonder what is annoying me. That's what's annoying me, people, about. Serpents and sea trolls sink many ships, so muster the power of some mighty runes before setting sail. Here's another figurehead. And on we go and on we go. Chapter 10. Explore like a Viking, raiding and trading. Like the sea, relationships are ever changing. Some folk are friends, others foes, and as the tide changes, so alliances can alter direction. And those you once feared, you can come to love. But other things we love are more constant. Wealth, adventure, the lure of the sea, and the gleam of bright gold. In our history, the Viking people's desire for these things drove some of them to make war on others. They set sail for gain, raiding faraway villages and far-off cities. Shifting faith. Now many Northlanders worship in churches themselves and have given up their raiding days. Times change, but the past is written in stone. We cannot hide from it, even the chapters penned by gold-hungry hands. Whatever the past holds, we must remember and learn from it, so we can sail ahead to whatever comes next. Sacking the monasteries. The Northlanders have always known that the richest places are those dedicated to the worship of gods, for all people richly adorn their altars. Often the raiders set their sights on rich monasteries along the coasts. Looking for bright gold and jewelled ornaments, they set all ablaze to make the monks flee. Then they plundered the churches, carrying off all they could. Often they returned to the same sites over the years, giving the monks just enough time to rebuild and restock in between. Which would be bloody annoying. You've just got everything back again and they'd come and steal it again. Not to mention the pillaging and the raping and all sorts of other things that, even though I have Viking ancestry, those kind of things I'm not particularly proud of, but that was the nature of conquest from 800 to 1100 or however long their period lasted. 500 to 1100, something like that. We are also feared in the marketplace, where our shrewd traders use their wits to bring home rich gifts and useful goods. During the spring and summer, our folk sail forth to plunder the coastlines, often sacking rich monasteries. So here's a trader. At least he's making his money a bit honestly, a bit. And here's probably a berserker or a raider getting his wealth the uncivilized way. Here's Sorry, I didn't show you the full picture. On the background is set fire to what looks like someone's house, possibly a church. It's not very nice, is it? It's not nice at all, but it's the nature of colonialism everywhere. Raiding and trading routes. I'll just show you that map. It goes from Vinland, which would be Finland, Greenland, to York, to Dublin, to London, Rome, Kiev, as far as Constantinople, people are there. They really did get around on those not terribly stabilised boats. I mean, you've got to take your hat off to them. They were intrepid, resilient, courageous, but bloodthirsty. But they were actually looking for agricultural lands to settle and farm too, because most of the time they were farmers. Here we have some of the things that they liked. Oh, I got pain. Furs, wine, coins, and what does that say? Spices. Mama T loves nice spices too. And furs, but there's not much need for fur here in Brisbane, Australia. I have a foxtail that hangs off my bag, but it's too hot to wear a fur coat or anything really, opulent like that. Trading abroad. It takes keen wits to wander the world and return with a profit from our own land to Kainugarder, which is their word for Kiev, Mikligarder, which is Constantinople, and Dyflin, Dublin. The Vikings have travelled far over the Fisher's Bath to trade and explore. They called York Jurvik. London they called London, but spelt with a U. And Rome they called Roma. Right. The world's riches. Our traders bring back many glorious things from distant lands. They carry with them brooches from Francia, neck rings from Russia, and coins from Mikligarder, Britain and Cirkland, the land of silk. They trade furs from our Northland for all manner of foreign treasures, precious amber and fragile pottery, as well as silks and spices, wine, and walrus ivory. That's good for scrimmage, people are there. I'd love a piece of scrimmage on real whale tooth or walrus ivory. I really would love to own something like that. You see them in the museums, I'm like, that's amazing. Of course, a beautiful animal had to die for them to have that amazingness, which is not very nice, but these noble travellers fill up their ships and sail for home. Such staves, does it say staves or slaves? Staves. are used to mark property in the marketplace. That's fascinating, isn't it? Put it next to their stuff as if to say, don't touch my stuff, motherfuckers. I wonder if it worked. You know, because people have got no conscience about killing and raiding, probably got no conscience about thieving from each other either. Maybe, maybe not. Chapter 11. Respect the ancestors, a hero's burial and the unquiet dead. But you don't want to encourage that, people of Earth. It is easy to think that death is the end, but we Vikings believe this is not so. The dead have their own lives and their own affairs. Our ancestors watch over us, and if angered, may meddle in our lives. If we forget to pay them the proper respects, such as putting rich goods with them into the earth, they may rise from their graves to demand their due. The fearful will sew a pair of hell shoes onto the dead to keep them in their graves, but it is better to show them respect, to make sacrifices, and to sing proudly of their great deeds. That is the best way to keep the dead quiet. The Hova House, don't know how to pronounce that. The bravest dead are buried in, I'll say house, but it's probably Hervers or something like that, are buried in house or earth mounds which are erected in their memory. A man's horse may be buried with him along with his weapons and armour. A poor horse, you just kill it to go with him. The horse doesn't even get a say. It's a bit rude when you think about it. He will need these belongings when he arrives at the halls of Valhalla, otherwise known as Valhalla, where the noble dead dwell. Kings are buried with their ships as well, so they can sail from this world to the others, which is a fortunate thing because that's how we know what a Viking ship looks like. Often these words are spoken at a Viking... Oh, no, we'll go back, sorry. It's a bit jumpy how they've done it. Burial rites. Some of our people send their dead to the flames to be burnt with their belongings in a ship or upon a pyre. That was my fantasy about 15 or so years ago. I wanted to be burnt on a Viking ship like a true Viking. That's not legal in Australia. But my beautiful friend John Bradley said, I'm sure we could find a nice isolated cove somewhere in Northern Territory and just put you in a dinghy and push you out and set fire to your body. I said, I'd love that, I'd love that, John. I said, would you really do that for me? He says, if I'm around and if you die before me, yes, I think I would. He was so sweet, indulging me in my little weird, dark fantasies about my disposal of my own physical form. Very sweet and kind man he was to me. But anyway, I'm still living, people of Earth. Still living. Some of our people send their dead to the flames to be burnt with their belongings in a ship or upon a pyre. In some cases, the ashes from a burnt body are buried in the earth along with the grave goods. A Northlander's grave is sometimes marked with a runeless, holy stone. Often these words are spoken at a Viking burial. Never sunstruck this stone stands, no blade has touched it or made mark upon it. By the waning moon it shall never be laid bare. No man shall move the stone, nor topple it. This is what it looks like. Stones where they have their dead. Let's open this flap and find out what they have to say underneath it. They have a lot to say. There he is, lying there under his mound, under his stone, with his helmet and his shield, his drinking horn, his axe, his sword, his dagger. I think that's meant to be a dagger. And his treasure chest. He's got his clothes on, his finest clothes. It looks like he's actually in some kind of ship too, but under the ground. How amazing is that? Let's open up this flap. Oh, bless. On this side of him, marked by all the stones around them both, is his beautiful horse. Remembering the dead. We Northlanders believe that the living must know where their ancestors are buried. In order to inherit property, a Viking must be able to name all the ancestors who lived upon that land before him. He must be able to point at their burial mounds and speak aloud their names before he inherits even the smallest thing. In Hebrew that's called yichus, lineage. If you don't have a lineage, you're not really a Jew. It's a bit of a problem when you convert into the faith, people of earth. But I guess my lineage is through my daughters, through my former husband's line, and their ancestor being my father-in-law and mother-in-law, who were very kind to me and paid off not one but two houses. They loved me so much. Can't say the same for my own mother and father, but in stepfather case, and the last monster she married, the last fucking pig, but it is what it is, people of earth. I was very fortunate as a young woman to have my wonderful Jewish family who were kind to me. They must have known that I was marrying someone who wasn't worthy of me, though. They were trying to protect me. I only just realised that in recent years. Never occurred to me before. Anyway, to you, Zvi Hirsch Ben Aron, and I don't know Hilda's Hebrew name. Her maiden name was Druka. Don't know what her Hebrew name was. Hinder, Butt, Wolf, and what was her mother's name? Zlata. But that wouldn't have been their Hebrew names either. It's got me thinking. I need to find out what her Hebrew name is, just out of curiosity. Doesn't really matter after all these decades. But Mr. Aarons, Herschel Aarons chick that became Harry Aarons, was a real man who wanted to honour and protect me. It's a pity he died so very soon after the engagement, because he was very kind to me. Taught me Yiddish and Hebrew prayers. Talked a lot about his life growing up in Poland. He left Poland in 1928 and Hilda came out in 1931 to marry him. So they personally escaped the Holocaust, although all Hilda's family perished in the Holocaust. But the majority of Harry's family went to New Zealand, and that's how they came to have survived that dreadful, dreadful war and that dreadful Holocaust. The undead. A Draugr rises from his grave. Looks very scary. I don't think I'd like to meet him on a dark night. Trying to figure out why it keeps going blurry and out of focus. Don't know. It's my phone that's doing that. There we go. Looks a bit better. Ah, here we have him. Now we've got him. He's kind of creepy. He's got a fair few of his own teeth still though. He's not doing too bad for the undead. Teeth is good. Mumity has spoken. The undead. Beware, as sometimes the undead will not rest if they have unfinished affairs. They do not rot, but swell in their graves, sometimes to the size of an ox. Ooh, that's a horrible thought. These terrifying undead bodies are called Draugrs, and their strength can crush a man or a woman. Pardon me. Some say that Draugrs rise and sink back into the earth at will. They are usually seen on winter nights. The story of Grettir and Old Karl. Let's have a go at this. Grettir is a strong. Grettir, greed hand. Grettir, howl breaker. Hearken to his grim tale and go not to the old mounds seeking for treasure. It is better to let the dead rest in the earth than to wander the shadows, slaking your thirst with their grave gold. There's nothing worse than cursed gold, people of earth. It's probably why I got rid of, the gold, the few bits of gold I inherited from my mother. It was just fucking tainted. I was like, but if I'd known then that I would someday become a silversmith and know how to melt down gold and make my own jewellery, I would have kept it for that purpose. So I'm a bit cross with myself, to be honest, but I kind of needed the money at the time, so I was robbed, really robbed, but it is what it is. Hungry for gold and the glint of dwarf-made swords, Grettir the warrior took tools and broke open the grave of Karl the Old. Using a rope, he dropped down into the mound, entering the darkness where ill odours abounded. There, sitting proud upon a throne, surrounded by treasure, was the corpse of old Car. Grettir grabbed all he could, gold cups, silver coins, and more fine things well wrought. As he packed up the grave hoard, Grettir felt a rough hand at his shoulder, a corpse grip from the hand of old Car. Not so fast, Sonny Jim, who stood grimly above him with embers for eyes. Down in the dark earth the two fought, each brought to his knees many times. To bring an end to the battle and hasten the Draugrs' doom, Grettir drew forth his sword, Yoko's snout, brandished it high and cut loose the head of old Car. Most unpleasant behaviour. Then he climbed the rope and pulled the treasure up after himself with a heart cold as the ground. Now cursed for offending the dead, never a good idea, people of Earth. Never, 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 never. Grettir strode forth from that place, a man of much wealth, not knowing that his own doom would soon descend upon him. Sounds like he didn't get to enjoy the wealth for very long, people of Earth. Fair play on that one too. If I had a corpse fighting me for wealth, that much that we were both brought to our knees many times, I think I would let the corpse have it. It meant that much to him. And no amount of money is worth debasing yourself. People have tried to debase me over money in the past many, many times, and each time, fuck you. Of course that means a lifetime of poverty, but I will not be debased. Although, for the sake of the gods and the hidden folk that are listening, I revoke all vows of chastity, poverty, and debasement. I am not a Catholic nun, nor am I a priest. I am a queen of my own destiny. I am whom I am becoming. Eye Asher Eye, daughter of the gods. So if you wish to bless me, bless me. Bring me my one true love, a man of means, a man of generosity, a man of kindness and honour towards me. For my happy ever after, which any time they come, whether soon or far, will still be a bit too little too late, but you never know. You never know. Who and what is around the corner? What the gods decree, am I right? Baby, 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 baby. No more slumming around with dead shits who have the nerve to send me messages. It was 100% unrequited, your love, our love. Liars, deceivers, traitors. But I'm okay, because I deserve a better man than that. Truly do. A better man. A far better man. One who doesn't hide behind other women's skirts and other JJs. Just saying. Vile. Right, where were we? Chapter 12. Accept your fate. It's been a lot of accepting my fate for 60 years, people. It's time I rocked the boat, ever just so slightly. Asked for what I want. Indeed. In the meantime, accept your fate, making your way through a weird world. The Norns are three wise sisters who measure out and cut the threads of life for every person. I'll show you the picture of the Norns, the weavers of destiny and of fate. Weird is an idea that is hard to grasp. Your weird could be said to be simply your unalterable fate or destiny, yet it is much more mysterious than this. You can wiggle a little bit. There is a tiny bit of wiggle room, but you don't want to upset the Norns or the gods. You don't want to settle for something that is far, far less than that you were destined to be gifted, because you got stubborn and cantankerous and annoyed. Let shits go, people of Earth. Welcome the true king to your queen, and vice versa. Wiggle a little bit, shuffle a little bit, mosh a little bit. The gods know who is truly destined to be yours. Your weird involves not just your future, but also your present and past, which you heard earlier was pretty fucking weird and abusive and horrific. At least I don't have to deal with that anymore. Thank the goddess for that. At every moment, your future may change in response to your present actions. Young Vikings should rejoice in the fact that the future is not an already fixed path, but can be forged and changed by their own deeds. Kindness, generosity, integrity, body autonomy, honour, truth-speaking, acts of loving kindness, respect for oneself and for others. That's the wiggle room I was talking about. Wiggle, 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 in a rich man's world. Wise folks say that the only thing that cannot be changed in a person's future is the moment of death. This is true. Not 1 second earlier, not 1 second late. With this in mind, live each day to the full and go forth fearlessly. Indeed. The Norns are the Weird Sisters, 3 giants who weave the fortunes of mortals and gods alike. Their names are Ord, Fate, Skuld, Future, and Verdandi, the Present. They work before the well of Ord, from which they draw water to pour on the roots of the world tree to keep it from rotting. Makes sense. The great Viking text of wisdom, the Havamal, speaks of them. Rich in wisdom are the three sisters who dwell by the deep-sprung waters that flow about the roots of that tree. They created the laws, allotted the lives that folk were to follow, measured out their fates. The seeress. At some time or another, everyone wishes to know what tomorrow will bring. Odin is no different. Many times he sought out the seeress who is able to look into the future. He is afraid of no god and gives her wisdom sparingly, never letting anyone know more than she thinks they need to know. She understands what we cannot seem to accept. Too much knowledge brings only grief. This is true sometimes. Wisdom of the... here's a picture of the seeress. Can we lock on? Can we have it in focus? Honestly, it focuses from a distance, but not close up. My iPhone 16 is myopic like me. Dear God. Wonder if it has mixed vision too. It's probably just as useless at archery as I am. Well, I wouldn't be useless if I trained left-handed and used my right eye for the sighting. Left-handed. Yes, correct. That was the problem. Wisdom of the Havamal. Though the Norns have already chosen the hour of our deaths, we must still take responsibility for our actions. The daily course of our lives is our own to decide. Strive to be remembered and to be thought well of by your neighbours and descendants. Do not worry if you are unable to predict your own future. Enjoy the thrill of the unknown and be free from all cares. Just going to open this up. Isn't that beautiful? We've got the runes. The Irish runes are called Ogham. When they appear on sticks like this, they're called Ogham. So clever, they've got the runes on both sides. This was the rune I made for my friend Paulie in Alter Egos because it represents sunshine, happiness, better health, success, joy. It was a true blessing. I know, wait, I think it was this one. Anyway, the Nazis appropriated and made a double Sovilo, which was on their fucking helmets. So I hesitated to give it to him as a rune because of the Nazi appropriation. But as I said to him, why should they ruin everything for us, those bastards? And I went ahead and made him that rune because in my Hanukkah candles last year, I think it was the 6th or 7th day I lit the candles, and I was struggling to try and pick the perfect rune. I picked two for him. One was called Oroz, which is also a healing rune, and one was Sovilo, which looks like lightning strike. And I was hesitating because of its Nazi connotations, actually. Because the Nazis appropriated quite a bit of magical occult things into their genocidal, putrid fucking regime. Anyway, I hesitated, and then Jared was here the night that I lit the Hanukkah candles, and I light the candles each night, and I take a photo. Tonight there'll be 3 candles, plus the shamash, the 4th candle that lights the others. So anyway, I thought, oh well, I'll take a photo. And we were both shocked to see in the photograph, it's up there on my Instagram from a year ago, in the shadows behind the light, the shadows that were cast behind the lights was 2 Sovilos, one either side. And I kind of freaked out, and I said to Jared, there's my answer. I have to make him that one. That is for his healing. Jared nodded. I said, how odd that it appeared in my Hanukkah, shadows of my Hanukkah candle lights though. I had a very magical, spiritual Hanukkah last year. It was lots of little signs and hints from the universe. And then shortly after we lost Charlie. Charlie passed away. So it was a bit confronting and distressing in a way, but we'd even had that night a bit of poltergeist activity as well, and then that little sign to say which room to gift to my friend Paulie, because at the time took me 6 days to make those little sterling silver beard beads. So I was trying to decide what to carve into them as a rune, and then that was just so clear that I didn't dare argue before the gods, you understand. If that was meant to be for him, then it was meant to be, and I gifted it to him. Anyway, blessed be, beautiful people of planet Earth. Let's finish the story now. We're up to, does it go on past this? No. We're up to chapter 13, the last injunction on being a Viking. Forge a name for yourself. Go forth with courage into the world. I have told you much, though too many words can weigh you down if you don't stretch your legs and see something of the wide world for yourself. But I will leave you a few last words to travel with. Though most things must end, or one thing never does. Yes, beasts perish, people perish. One day you shall perish yourself. But there is one thing that shall never die, and that is the reputation won by a life lived with honour. Amen the salah to that. Above all, be ever faithful to your friends. You should never be the one to let a friendship fail. Many friends may you have, but never forget that no one knows a better friend than his own good head brimming with sense. Don't settle for nonsense, viciousness, othering, treachery, debasement. If the only friend you've got in the world is your own common sense, that is a fine friend to have indeed. people of Earth. High words you've heard, bright runes you've read, helpful to all sons and daughters of Midgard, harmful to giants and hags out of hell, praise to the teller of tales. Praise to those who listen with care. Fortunate are they who are given the law. Glad lives they get when they heed it. For now you know the ways of a Northlander. Now you are Viking. My beautiful friend Regina showed me a photo of her brother. She hasn't seen him for some years, but he sent her a photo, you know. And I was quite surprised. He had a beard and he had plaited the beard just like a Viking. I thought, oh, isn't that sweet? He might not identify as a Viking, you understand. He's Jewish like my friend Regina and I, but there was a Viking flavour there. The Vikings could be any religion, by the way. They weren't just Norsemen. They weren't just followers of the Norse gods. They sometimes bridged two traditions. Right, here we go. Here he stands near the standing stones of honour. I'd love to go one day to, you know, Scandinavia, and I guess you can see them in Ireland and Scotland too. All these beautiful stones carved by the Vikings and leaving behind basically their memory and a bit of their graffiti too, truth be known. Their magical practices. Look at this beautiful shield, isn't it? Spectacular. Wow, people of Earth. I have really enjoyed sharing that story with you. This book was gifted to me by Lynn Sloan. Right, thoroughly enjoyed that, and I shall be back tomorrow. I've decided I was going to read all those lovely short stories or love stories, but in honour of my ancient Icenian queen Muse, that my psychiatrist teases me that I remind him of, I think I'll come back tomorrow and we will begin reading Boadicea. Why not? Let's stick with the ancient Celtic, Icenian, Viking themes. So, love you all. Bye.